I've done a lot of things that I felt very fulfilled by when I was working as an RN, when I was a midwife, and I loved catching babies, but took a toll on me. Well, this does too, but it's in a different way. I couldn't imagine doing anything else in my life right now. This is my nirvana. My name is Rowan Miller, and my farm is Rowantree Farm in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. I grew up in the Falkland Islands on a 110,000 acre farm, and we had 30,000+ sheep, and we had our border collies, our dogs for sheep work. It was a great childhood. Most of my adult life I've been really interested in wanting to get back into farming. Obviously farming somewhere other than in the Falklands is very different, and being in the United States most decidedly so. After spending many years raising 5 kids and working as a nurse and a midwife and other things, I bought a 5.5 acre farm, which was my gateway drug into where I am now. And the first thing I did was get some sheep, and then I moved into vegetable farming, and we started putting up high tunnels and started selling at markets. And then I added pigs and sheep and chickens at the small farm was way too much, so I started looking in earnest for another farm, a bigger farm. I had no idea I'd end up with 104 acres. I was sort of figuring on maybe 20. We bought this farm 2 years ago, and I raised commodity crops, soybeans and corn, those 2 years, last year and the year before. And after last year's not great yields because of the very dry summer we had, and the cost of inputs for fertilizers and herbicides and pesticides and everything else that has to be done in order to have a reasonable crop, most of them being not great for the soil, not great for the environment in general. I decided that I was going to rotationally graze my sheep through and then the cows through to try and fertilize and create that carbon cycle that the soil and the plants need naturally. In one of my fields over here where I had corn last year, I just allowed whatever wanted to come up because it's an opportunity to put roots in the soil and to cover the soil. So one of my neighbors is actually running a disc over that field that's 20 acres or so to cut the weeds down. And now I can go in and seed a grass forage seed. So in the spring when the grass comes up, it will beat out the weeds and make a beautiful forage field for the sheep and for the cows. So really, I'm right at the beginning of my regenerative farming journey, and I have a lot to learn. I've had a lot of great mentors along the way so far, and I'm sure that will continue. NRCS has been a really important part of both my farming journeys, actually. When I moved here, one of the first things I did was reach out to Diana Dellinger and Titus Martin, who came out and looked at the farm and helped me come up with plans for what they could help me with over the next few years in terms of the no-till, planting wildflowers, putting in irrigation here, and whatever fencing they could help with, which with NRCS is mostly interior fencing. By doing the Women for the Land series, I received some money for that, and it was awesome. It was just wonderful to have that connection with all these other women farmers. When I got into this, I just kind of jumped in with both feet, and I knew what I wanted to do, and I just had to figure out how to do it. For those women in particular that want to do something, whether it's farming, just do it. Just do it. I don't want to get to be 80 years old and say, oh, I wish I'd done that. I really wanted to do that. I'm the strongest and probably the healthiest, both mentally and physically, that I think I've ever been in my life. And, you know, I'm a couple of years away from being 60 years old, and I'm in the best place ever, period. One of the most special and wonderful things about doing what I'm doing is seeing this beautiful farm come back from what it was with commodity cropped to being this beautiful, vital place that it is now, that's benefiting the animals that are grazing on it and benefiting the environment, because it's land doing what naturally it wants to do.